We'd like to welcome everybody out today for our first of many, we hope, webinars. The first one will be pros and cons of LEDs. A little background. We linked up with CAO this last year, and we're very excited about this partnership. They were established in the year 2000, headquartered right here in Utah, which is fantastic, out in West Jordan, out by Airport 2. The nice thing, being able to actually go out there and visit the manufacturing plant, having an opportunity to see how the modules are actually made and created has been a big plus for us. They do have 3 different facilities. We deal with one here in Utah. They do have 4 business units. The first one in dental, vet/medical, the lighting, and then forensics. Next slide, this is their facility out in West Jordan. It sits on about 40 acres for hopefully, I guess, some additions somewhere down the line. If anybody is interested in going out for a, I guess, a tour through their shop, just let us know after the webinar and we'll try and set something else. Okay, this slide, this is our fire series. This is the particular LEDs that we stock on our floor. The first one being the Inferno. This is probably their highest rated module. It's generally meant for those cabinets 5 to 10 inches deep, very, very bright. The next one is their Blaze, which is probably our most popular LED, and it's really set for those 3.5 inch to 5 inch letters. The next LED is a Flare, and the Flare is probably their most economical priced LED. Generally used for those cabinets 5 inch deep and letters. Also, do a little experimenting out and about as you're playing with different plastics. Some of the LEDs, like red LEDs, light a lot better up with red Plex than white does. You would think white would sure light it up a lot better. Red would be a little more muddy, but actually the red LEDs light a lot better. We also offer a new Plex designed for the LED market. It's a 2447 white, and which will actually give you about a 20 to 30% brighter letter if you're using that particular Plex. This is just kind of a performance chart on the LEDs, the Inferno, Blaze, and the Flare. The Inferno has 9 LEDs per module, the Blaze 6, and the Flare 3. The Inferno has 27 LEDs per foot, the Blaze 18, the Flare 9. And the big key is lumens per foot. That's how bright your sign actually is going to be. The Inferno, 165 lumens per foot, very, very bright. The Blaze, 110, and the Flare, 55. You've got your watts per foot, your viewing angle. All of CAO's LEDs have a 120-degree viewing angle. The next is your maximum footage per 60-watt power supply. Your Inferno 37, the Blaze 55, and the Flare 111. Now, all of their LEDs do have a complete 5-year warranty as long as you are using the correct power supply to go along with that. All of our Fire Series LEDs come with VHB tape on the back for bonding surfaces, and they also offer a mechanical hole on each module for fastening requirements, which is recommended by UL. Just be careful. All LEDs are not created the same. There's some LEDs out in the market without any fasteners, and the only way to fasten these darn things down are with a 2-way tape on the back. Just be very, very cautious on some of these new LEDs in the market. I'm not sure what UL is going to do about those, but you are required to have a fastening hole on each LED. This is a little information on LuxemBright. Their design difference on their module compared to the surface mount LEDs. We'll go into that one in the next, but they still have the pixel design for multiple LEDs for uniform light distribution. Their design has been around for 20 years out in the market, and they are completely potted, each one of their modules, for an extreme. Okay, here is the difference between the through hole, which CAO uses, and the surface mount. On the left-hand side is our module. And you can see the thing is completely encapsulated in epoxy, and it seals that chip up. To where the right-hand side, you just have your surface mount LED there for the weather to actually get in there and damage your LED. On our LuxemBright Fire series, the left-hand side is how we start off with our module. We have our chip sitting there, and the top and bottom picture shows the chip completely encapsulated with a potting compound to kind of help with weather, the elements, so we're not getting any shorting in there. On the right-hand side is showing the module completely done, all weatherproof. So, and it does have UV inhibitors in there just to help out with the weather. The slide shows the extreme testing that CAO will go through to make sure their modules are working properly. This one is soaked in a salt water for 120 hours. You see that you can't see much of the LED on the bottom. It's completely encased, but it is still lighting. That's just extreme testing that they're willing to go through. This is the LED comparison chart. When deciding on the right LED, the first thing to look for is a color temperature. They will range anywhere from about 11,000 Kelvin, which is generally a little bit on the blue side, and they'll go down as low as 5,000 K, which is really kind of on the warm side. A lot of the signs that you're seeing around town from McDonald's and Lowe's, they really like that warm look, and they're using a lot of the 5,000 K around town. With our Fire series, we have the capability of going anywhere from 5,000 all the way up to 9,000. The LEDs we currently stock on the floor at the moment are the 9,000 series. Seems to be probably the most popular color out there. One of the other things to look at before we get into the power supplies here, our flare module, which is a more economical LED, has 55 lumens per foot, the blaze 110, and again the Inferno with 165. All of our modules, or all of our LEDs, are three modules per foot from optimal coverage. Another big key is how many LEDs you can actually run on a 60-watt power supply. Okay, on the power supplies. All right, the first one is a 40-watt power supply, all 12-volt. They are the UL1310 and a Class 2 power supply, which you need to have to be in UL specs. We're actually seeing a few power supplies out in the market at the moment that are not a 1310 or a Class 2 power supply. So just be really, really cautious on the power supplies that you have to be using. The power supply cannot exceed 60 watts or 5 amps per leg. That is the maximum by UL. So just be very, very cautious on that. We do have multiple LED power supplies on the screen here, the first one being a 40-watt, the next one a 60-watt, and on our two 60-watt units here, we have one that actually will range from a 120-volt all the way up to a 277, and another unit that will run at just 120. That's probably our most popular just because of the price. Now, for those larger jobs, we do offer a 120-watt power supply, which is the next one, and then a 240-watt power supply there on the right. The 120 will actually have two legs of 60 watts, and the 240-watt will have actually four legs for those large jobs. Maybe you're putting it up in an attic and running something clear around a building, maybe border tubing or something. But like I said, just be really cautious. Not all power supplies are created equal. On it, let's just go into a few installation tips that I've kind of noticed over the years out and about. Always clean the back of your letter or cabinet with isopropyl alcohol before installing your LEDs. A lot of dirt, grease that could be left behind from manufacturers when we bring in our sheets of aluminum. If you're doing a retrofit out in the field, obviously you're going to have a lot of dirt and dust in the back of that letter, and the 3M tape will just not bond very well. So make sure you clean those properly. On the 3M tape that we use on all our VHB tape, the 3M recommends that the temperature be above 50 degrees when applying the VHB tape. That's going to be a little tough when you're out in the field, especially the winters around here when it's 10, 20, 30 degrees, but that's what 3M recommends. You should also check with your local UL rep for any fasting recommendations, especially if you've got some, like say a W, at the top of your legs on your W. Realistically, you should fasten those down just so nothing falls and you end up having a hot spot there. I see a lot of guys just using silicone in the field, and which seems to work very well, but I would definitely check with your UL rep just to make sure that he's not going to stop you for any particular reason. Okay, here are a few jobs that you may recognize around town, and every one of these have been populated with the CAO LEDs. The IMAX Theater back in 2004, all your energy solutions, which was a very big one for a local company here in town. You've got some your Fresh Market, which there was quite a few stores done with that last few years, and obviously Jordan Landings. Your Hunter Douglas on the bottom right is a halo lit letter, very, very pretty letter. I guess just a few other jobs that are done with it. Here's the halo letter for American Family, and the Villa on the right-hand side. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is how well CAO's LEDs are built to where they can actually dunk them into a bowl of water and still light. There's not a lot of companies around town that are probably willing to do that, I'm sure. Okay, a few benefits, I guess, using LEDs over neon. Obviously, easier to install. A lot less breakage, especially at your shop or during installation. You see a lot of, especially even border tubes that everybody just straps to the hood of their truck or onto a 4-bay that they slap in the back of their truck. And anybody that has installed neon before understands the issues with that. Most LEDs will save you approximately 40% over regular neon on your power bill. Neon generally comes with only a 1-year warranty, to where the LEDs, as long as you're using the proper LED, the proper power supply, will give you a 5-year warranty. Right at the moment, I spoke with CAO yesterday. We're going to be running a special to where anybody that buys a case of LEDs, which is generally 300 feet in a case, will receive 50 feet free. So, okay, you know, I still love the look of exposed neon. You know, it just gives you that look out on a border. Our clock on the far right-hand side is really tough to create that with LEDs. I believe this clock was done years and years ago by a good friend of ours, Tom Jackson. I think his boys probably repaired it a time or two for us when we haven't been quite real cautious with it. But now on the left-hand side on the top, LEDs are offering border tubing and flexible tubing, which are a little expensive, but you're sure going to have a lot less breakage on them. And during the day, it will give you that daytime effect if you're using, I guess, the proper color. CAO is about to launch a brand new LED. They'll be showing it at the Florida show next week. It's called the Sizzle. And as everybody knows, as they're trying to create a halo-lit letter, it's really tough because you've got to push that letter or cabinet so far away from that wall. With the new Sizzles, you can actually be up to 1.5 inches away from the wall, and you can run about 43 feet on a power supply. Okay, this is one of CAO's new products, and we're actually just diving into that, the Dynasty LEDs side of it. You know, I believe Rocky Mountain actually is running some specials to where if you're doing a retrofit, they'll actually give you or your customer a kickback on these. But with the LEDs, you can save 40 to 60% energy consumption over the standard incandescent bulbs. They say it's going to be the light source of the future. 50% of all lights will be LEDs by 2015, and you can kind of see that happening out and about with cars, everything else out there. On their first one, on the left-hand side, these are their par 20s, par 30s, par 38, their floodlights, which are now switching over to the LEDs. On the far right-hand side, you may notice those a little. You're using some of those maybe in your home already. Those are your standard 11S14s, and then the little small ones are your candelabra lights. Okay, this a 1 watt, they figure will replace a 15 watt candelabra, and a 3 watt will be replacing a 25 watt. So it has the same beam factor on it. They do have a 35,000 hour life on those, and actually you're getting a lot more of those, but at the L70 rating is where they figure that light is sitting with the bulb having 70% of its lifespan still left. They figure you can get about 35,000 hours out of these. Okay, just kind of a comparison chart. This chart just represents the LED side of it, the Dynasty, and what they figure that with that 35,000 hour lifespan, what you'll be saving over a standard 25 watt incandescent. They figure the lifespan of the LED, you'll save $290 on a 3 watt Dynasty, and on your 1 watt Dynasty, which compares with a 15 watt incandescent, they figure you'll save about $265. And these are just a few of the jobs, that retrofit jobs that were done around one of the theme parks. It looks like on the left-hand side, and just a big chandelier on the right. A few other I guess, on the right-hand side. Well, that's a lot of LEDs on that one, and it looks like on the left, you're probably another full shot. Okay, these are ones you're probably seeing out more often is your little S14 bulbs. They S14 and S11, sorry. And these are what you'd probably use in your normal fixture in your home. And I figure a 1.7 watt is the same as a 15, and their 3 watt will replace the 25 watt. Same form factor as traditional S14, and here again on the lifespan on it, they're figuring running 24/7, 35,000 hours with that L70 rating on there. And these are non-dimmable, so you have to be careful on that. Okay, another comparison chart just showing the S14 bulbs. And they figure over that 35,000 hour lifespan, you'll be saving about $300 on that. And just a few other retrofit jobs that were done with the S14 bulbs. Okay, these are the new PAR lamps. They're figuring a 5 watt will replace a 35 watt halogen. These are dimmable and have that same 35,000 hour rating on there. And just their PAR 30, which is an 8 watt that will replace a 40 watt halogen. These are also dimmable. And also on the bottom, you can see the available kelvins. They figure, I've heard about a 6500K is really kind of a true white, and those probably would be the ones that I would sure test first. PAR 38, 16 watt. 1,040 lumens, and they figure it's equivalent to a 75 watt halogen. It is dimmable and has that same 35,000 hour rating. This is their new T8. As you're seeing probably in a lot of your homes, a lot of fixtures are probably being replaced from the old T12 style to the new T8 Dynasty. They figure an 18 watt will replace a 40 watt standard T8, 80 lumens. The nice thing about this one is there's no ballast needed. You can actually take that ballast or just bypass that ballast in your can and just wire it straight up to that fixture. The only drawback I see on this T8 is that it has a 120-degree viewing angle. So for up in your fixture would be fantastic, but for a sign can, you would almost have to double that up if you're doing a double-sided can. Okay, here this is just the Dynasty chart for the T8. They figure over the 35,000 hour lifespan that you'll save $192 over the 17 watt, and on the 36 watt fluorescent you'd have a savings of $216. And these are just a few of the signs that they have retrofitted with the T8s on here. One for looks like for the National Guard. Okay, do we have, I guess we have had a few questions come in. They want to know how many feet of LEDs that we can run on a power supply. It all depends. We go back to that chart with right there. Okay. On the left-hand side on this chart, here again, the flare, which is running 55 lumens per foot, we can run 111 feet. And our blaze, which is our most popular around town, it seems like here, which has 110 lumens, very, very bright, we can run 55 feet. Same thing with the Inferno. For those very deep cabinets again, we can run 37 feet, but we are sitting at 165 lumens. That's very, very bright, again, for those very deep cabinets. We also have another question here. Somebody's asking how we can actually test our LEDs out in the field. We've had somebody ask if we can test those with our cordless drill battery. You know, I had checked on this a while ago. I know somebody that had in the field had tried it with an 18-volt battery and actually had fried all the LEDs. So be very, very cautious on that. I don't even know if I would use a 12-volt on there. The problem with the power supply that actually runs these darn things is the way it converts the power across. And I would just be very cautious. I would just maybe keep an extra power supply in your vehicle, and that way we don't have to worry about it. Now, the other big thing, as tricky as UL is getting around town these days, definitely make sure that you use a licensed contractor and make sure that you do pull the correct permits from your local city so we don't run into any problems. So we have another one here. Your T8 tube lamps going to be compatible with future LED advanced technology. Eventually going to have to replace the fixture once the lamp burns out. You know, I'm sure that they are probably creating different type fixtures out there. This is so new that at this point with their T8s, you know, they bypassed the particular ballast. That'll obviously save us a lot of money. But I'm sure the way this is all new, I'm sure with the technology, as much as it's changed over the last few years, we will probably have some new T8s out by next year. But I know there's a new guide coming out as of July of this year that's really going to raise a lot of cane with our standard T12s, T8s. I think your T8s that you've been using out in the market at the moment will all have to be replaced. We're hoping it's not going to hurt our T12s at this point. But I do have a meeting with my Sylvania rep tomorrow to see if that's going to hurt us or not. But yeah, the way technology is, we'll probably have a new T8 next year that will plug into a different type of fixture, I'm sure. See, we do have another question. Technology, let's see. Oh, do LED lights emit UV rays? You know, I'm sure it is very, very small. I have never... You know what? I have never actually asked that question to CAO. I could sure, if they did, it would have to be a very, very small amount. But if you let me know who actually had sent in the question, I will check with CAO and definitely get back to you. You know, if you do have any issues or any questions, here again, I talk so darn fast that everybody knows me. They're just used to it. But, you know, we appreciate you attending. But if you have any questions, this is my email, bshipley@regionalsupply.com, or you can catch us online at regionalsupply.com.